Hello and thanks for joining me here today on my channel. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these cute little corner bookmarks. Now let me show you how they fit on a page in a book. So it actually fits onto the corner of the page and then it stays nice and snug when you close the book. So I'm going to show you how to make these, but I want to give you some instructions up front. In the beginning of this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this, and I'm going to be giving you the instructions as if you are already a crafter. I know a lot of people that subscribe to my channel, or even if they don't subscribe, tune in regularly, and you're pretty familiar with kind of the lingo and most of the tools and the processes that we use in paper crafting. So the first thing I'm going to do is just teach it that way. But stay tuned, because if you are not a regular crafter, perhaps you are new to crafting, perhaps you are a teacher looking for a great project for your classroom, or any number of other categories, and you need a little bit more instruction. Perhaps you don't know the normal process of cutting and scoring paper and so forth. I'm going to repeat some of the instructions at the end of this video and break it down to help those of you who maybe don't have a bunch of the tools or maybe haven't been well versed in paper crafting already. So let's get started. Let me move these out of the way. I can show you, this is the same one that was in the book page that I showed you just a moment ago. I was just this past weekend teaching along with my husband at a marriage retreat, and I wanted all of the ladies at the retreat to get to take home a little bookmark. So I made a bunch of these and prepared them and packaged them so that I could take them to the retreat with me. That was extra fun for me to be able to do, and I know that the ladies enjoyed receiving those. Perhaps you were even someone who was at that retreat, and that's the reason that you looked up the YouTube video today. So welcome especially to you. So then I made a couple others just to give you an idea that your decoration can really vary depending on either the occasion or who you're making the bookmark for. So in this one, instead of doing a stamped, like on this one, a stamped owl, so instead I did some punch art and punched out the little daisy and the leaves and just added a little hello tag and used a different paper. And then on this one, I made this one, perhaps this would be a cute little gift for Father's Day. So it's cute with the tools. Also, the paper reflects the tool theme, and of course, World's Best Father stamped on there. So aside from the basics of putting this together, you can totally determine how you want to decorate it depending on how you're going to use these or who you're going to be giving them to. So the first thing that you're going to start with is a piece of designer series paper that is 3 by 5 inches. Now I've got my piece here, it's already cut, and we're going to do some scoring on this, but I will mention that if your paper has a direction to it, you need to pay attention when you do your paper cutting. So this is the way that the paper needs to be in the correct orientation. So let me see here. I don't have a paper in front of me with a direction, so I'll talk about it with the back side. So let's say that I wanted these stripes and I wanted them vertical. That's the direction that I want them to go in. Then I would cut my paper with the 5-inch long side this way, the 3-inch side, so that when you're holding it this way, your direction is correct. Okay? If you're using a non-directional pattern, then that removes having to even think about that. All right, so I'm going to bring in my favorite scoring tool, which is the Simply Scored board. And you're going to do your scoring just in 2 places. At the 2.5-inch mark, which is right here. So I'm going to score it with the paper in a landscape position, score at 2.5. Then I'm just going to turn it a 1/4 turn clockwise and score it at 2.5 again. So there's not even a lot of measurements to have to remember. All right, that's all we're going to do with our scoring. And as I mentioned, at the end of this video, I'll give you some options in case you do not have that Simply Scored board. Okay, so now I'm just going to fold along those two score lines that I just made, and I'm gonna really press in those creases using my bone folder. So I'm pressing along that long skinny one and then this one. All right, once you have your piece to this stage, you're just gonna take your scissors. I think it's just easier to leave it folded for this step. You could open it and cut your tabs that way if you want, but this works great. It's a little bit cloudy today, and I don't have the light quite like I would like it. I hope you're able to see well today. I am going to add a little extra light from this side. Maybe that'll help. Okay, so I'm going to take my scissors, and notice this is that skinny little part with the score line. This is the larger part. This is the smaller part. And I'm going to take my scissors. I'm just going to do an angle cut like this. And if it feels backwards to be cutting this way, just flip it over and then cut again this way. All right, so at that point you can see those little angles. Then I'm going to open the paper. Now, for the bookmark that I'm showing you how to do right now, this is going to be the front, and this other print is going to only show up on the inside of the bookmark. So this is my primary. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this like this, turn it so my tabs are on the right, and this tab right here is going to get removed completely. So using your scissors, you're going to go ahead and cut that off. And I want to give you a little pointer right now before you cut, and that is, instead of cutting right along the line that you've folded and creased, you're going to actually take a little tiny bit extra. You want to completely cut that section off. So I'm using my scissors, and I'm just going to cut just a little bit below, or to the left in this instance, of that line, so that I'm completely removing that. All right, let me clean that up a little bit. Okay, so you can see on this piece, that little score line is actually on the piece that I cut off. So I've completely removed the tab, including that little line. Now we're going to close that like so. This flap in a moment is going to get closed over this, and this closes easily over that because it's not real bulky right here. That's why we did that. Okay, so that took care of something without having to go back and fix it or trim it up a little bit later. Now, once you have removed that little piece, we have our tab left here, which is important, and we're going to now flip this piece over, and you've got two square sections here. The square that is still part of the piece with the tab is the piece that you're going to fold into a triangle. So I'm going to bring this corner up to this corner, and I'm going to bring it just shy of all the way to the corner. I'm just going to skimp a little bit. Bring it just inside that corner. Just press that fold with your finger to hold it for a moment. Then you can grab your bone folder and really press in that crease. All right, so now you see this piece is going to fold over like that. We're going to secure this here, and that is the mechanics of the bookmark. So super easy in how to do these. You can make a bunch of them in not a lot of time, depending on the decoration that you're adding on top. Again, cut all of your 3x5s, do all of your trimming, do all of your gluing, and you'll end up with a stack of these that are ready to decorate. Okay, so I'm going to seal this with my liquid glue. I do want to use as little as possible. We don't want our glue to be oozing out and make the back all sticky. So a teeny bit along the edges, and a teeny bit here, and that's going to hold it just fine. If you're new to my channel, I'll just mention right now that in the description box below this video, and sometimes you have to click the word more or see more to make that description box open bigger. I will put a list of all of the products that we're using today for today's project, so you don't have to be saying, where is that glue? Where do I find it? Where did she get the bone folder, etc. Okay, so there's our bookmark. Now we're going to do our decorating. So for the design I'm showing you, it's pretty simple. We're going to take a piece of colored cardstock. This is Berry Burst. And by the way, our Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper, all of the colors that are used in the different prints coordinate with our cardstock colors, our ink colors, our markers. So it makes putting together your projects quite easy. So I know from the package of this paper that the lighter pink is Bubble Bath and this darker pink is Berry Burst. So it was easy to grab a piece of Berry Burst cardstock, cut this into a 2-inch square. This piece is going to go here like that. And then our decorative piece is going to go here. Now you're seeing one that I've already stamped, but I'm going to take a plain white square and go ahead and do the stamping for you, again, in case you're new to this. All right, so this is a 2-inch square, as I mentioned, and this is a 1 3/4 inch square. All right, let me grab that plain white square so that I can show you the stamping process. I was going to do all of that at the end, but let's go ahead and include the stamping in this front end of the video. Okay, so I've got my piece here. I'm going to use black ink. This is the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I have my acrylic block with my little owl already stuck onto the block, and this owl is from the stamp set that's called Bird's Eye View. You can see the cute little birds, the stack of books, the different sets of glasses. All right, so putting the black ink onto my stamp, and then I'm just going to center it onto my piece of paper, which is easy since the acrylic block is clear and the stamp is clear. I can see right down through it to get my positioning where I want it. All right, then I've got the glasses, one of the styles of glasses from that stamp set. And I'm going to go ahead and add these big glasses to my cute little owl, like so. Okay, next we're going to do the coloring. I'm going to show you how I color using our Stampin' Blends markers. These are alcohol-based markers, and I love them because even if you're not an artist, it makes your coloring look like you are an artist. Really looks like you know what you're doing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I've selected my colors. So as I mentioned, the colors in this paper are Bubble Bath, Berry Burst, and this green is Garden Green. We don't currently have Stampin' Blends in Garden Green, but I did some testing and Old Olive is going to look great. So I've got Old Olive, light and dark, Berry Burst, light and dark, and Bubble Bath, light and dark. All right, let's color our owl. Now, if you are, if you're new to crafting or if you don't have Stampin' Blends yet, of course you can color with markers or colored pencils to get the coloring portion done. If on your bookmark you're going to use something else to decorate the front and not do any stamping at all, like on this one, then of course you can keep that in mind. All right, when I use my Stampin' Blends, a lot of times I like to do an outline in the darker of the two colors. So this here is Bubble Bath Dark, and I'm just going around the face with my dark Bubble Bath. All right, then I'm going to come back in with the light one, and I'm just going to kind of pull that line, that darker ink, and bring it in towards the middle. So what that does is it just creates a little bit of shadowing. Like I said, you don't have to be an artist to get this great look at all. All you have to do is color with these fabulous markers. Now, the markers are buildable and blendable. So you can see how I've blended that so I don't have a harsh line between the dark and the light. If you want a little bit more emphasis, of course, you can go back and add a little bit of dark That's all going to be personal preference, or maybe depending on how much time you have. Okay, let's color the belly in the greens. So this time I'm going to start with my light. This is Old Olive Light, and I'm just going to color in the whole area. I'm using the brush tip marker. No, I'm using the brush end of the marker. And this way I get a wide coverage very quickly, okay? The other end of the marker, I'll show you on the dark Old Olive, is a bullet point. So this is more defined. And with this time, I'm just going to kind of exaggerate what the artist has already created for us, those little ruffles or feathers, as the case may be. Okay, let's do the wings. So I'm going to go back to my Bubble Bath Light and just start the wings in pink. And then I'll add my Berry Burst. I think I'll use the light. I'm afraid that dark might be too much. So let's add a little Berry Burst. And then I'll show you in just a minute how we're going to blend this so that the wings don't look like they have stripes. All right, and then my dark Old Olive. I think I'll use the bullet end since it kind of comes to a fine point down here. There we go. All right, so I am letting my green blend into that darker pink, the Berry Burst. Just a little bit there at the bottom. I want a blend there. And now watch, I'm going to take my Bubble Bath in the light and blend back into the pink. You know what? Let's do the dark. Let's make those wings a little bit darker pink. So I'm going to go over my light pink and pull it down into the Berry Burst. And as the alcohol markers are kind of doing their magic, you can see that that begins to blend and I don't have this harsh line anymore. It's like magic. It's very fun to color with these markers. All right, on this side, same thing. I'm really blending out that line where the Berry Burst started, and now it flows nicely. Okay, all we need to do is the little beak. So I will use the Old Olive in dark, and we'll go with a green beak. Okay, our coloring is done. I'm going to take my glue and attach this piece to that 2-inch square of Berry Burst cardstock. Just kind of centering it, eyeballing it, looking at all of the borders above, below, and on the sides. All right, at this point, we are so close to being done. Hang in here so that you can see this pointer, because you don't want to make a mistake at this point. If you're so excited that you're almost done and you quickly add your glue to this and you stick it on, you may find that you glue this shut by accident. So let me point out, we are only going to add glue to a corner of this piece, only the piece that's going to attach right here. So what I do, because I don't want to make a mistake, is lay it on kind of like a dry fit and recognize that this is the corner that needs the glue. Okay, then I can flip it over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay away from the very middle. So I'm not going to go right down the center line of that square. I'm just going to come down a little bit below, get my squiggle of glue there. And now that gets attached to this triangle area. So I will tell on myself, out of the 50 or so bookmarks that I prepared for the retreat, for the ladies at the retreat, there was one that somehow I got mixed up and I put the glue on the wrong side. So it would have glued down here. And of course, at that point, then that piece was ruined and I had to do a redo. So that's why I like to point these things out to you to hopefully help you avoid some of the mistakes that could happen. There we have our little corner bookmark, and again, it just fits onto your book page like that. Now, if you're comfortable with this and you're ready to go, then thank you for watching, and I'm gonna turn you loose and let you go ahead and copy these and create your own cute little corner bookmarks. But if you are new to paper crafting, just stick with me for another minute. I'm gonna back up and show you some of the basics that I skipped in the beginning. Okay, so to get our paper cut from the start, a lot of our designer paper here at Stampin' Up! Comes in either 6x6 sheets or in 12x12. This piece started out as a 12x12. I've already used some of it, so it's no longer 12x12, but you can see it's large, all right? So I need to cut this down to a 3x5, and we have a wonderful tool for that, and it's just a little trimmer. So let me pull out my Stampin' trimmer. It looks like this. If you've never seen our trimmer before, it's got the measurements that are very clear for you to see. It has it looks like two blades. One is actually a cutting blade and one is a scoring blade. So I'm going to show you how to use that. And then this arm on the left swings out, so you actually can use the measurements all the way out past even a 12-inch paper. So that is very helpful when you're starting with a super big piece of paper. Or if you are into scrapbooking and you're regularly working with 12x12 sheets, you're going to need to have that arm be able to swing out to do your measuring. All right, so we need a 3x5 piece of paper. I'm noting the direction of my stripes because on my finished product, I wanted vertical stripes. So I need to make sure that I keep the paper in this orientation. This is going to be my 5-inch mark. So I'm going to place the left side of the paper here at the 5-inch mark on my paper trimmer. The darker is the cutting blade, the lighter or the gray one is the scoring blade. So I'm going to use the cutting blade and cut. Then I can take this piece and turn it to the 3-inch, and you can do it, you can cut the 3-inch first or the 5-inch. There's nothing magic about which one to do first, just that orientation perhaps. All right, so by using the Stampin' trimmer, I've got my 3x5 paper cut from a much larger piece and we're ready to go. Now, if you don't have that scoring tool that I used earlier, and you do choose to invest in the trimmer, which you may need to cut your paper anyway, this is where the scoring blade comes in. So this works in a quite convenient way. I know that I need to make a score mark at 2.5 inches. So I can place my paper at the 2.5-inch mark, and this time being careful to not use the cutting blade, move that out of the way. I can use my scoring blade and run it a couple times, and now I've just made that crease, that score line at the 2.5. Now I needed a 2.5 along this edge as well. So again, place the left edge at 2.5 using the scoring blade. And I'm using a little bit of pressure, just kind of pressing down as I go. And now I have created that score line. So that is a great way to do both your paper cutting as well as your scoring. It's a 2-for-1 tool. And then later, when I had to cut that piece of Berry Burst cardstock, same thing. You can use your trimmer to cut a large piece of cardstock down to that 2x2 size. Now there is another way that you can do your scoring. Let's say that you have a paper cutter that's available to you, and you're going to use that, but you don't have a way to do scoring. You can also do your scoring with a ruler. So I'm going to use this little 6-inch metal ruler. This is a favorite tool that I pull out all of the time. And I'm going to use a stylus to show you how to do it. Again, if you don't have this tool that I started with in the beginning, or the trimmer that includes the little scoring blade. So then you need a ruler and a stylus. then a stylus looks like this, and it's got like a ball end on each side, usually one a little bit larger and one a little bit smaller. The reason for that is if you are scoring a thinner paper, a lightweight paper like this, then I use the larger ball because I want to be careful to not tear my paper. The smaller ball is fine to use on a thicker paper like cardstock. So if you have no tools to do your scoring, then I would recommend that you get a ruler and a stylus tool, which is very inexpensive. Also, I've linked both of these items in that description box below this video. So that way, if you want to just go to Amazon and get a stylus, and also if you need a cute little handy ruler. So in that instance, then you would either using some grid paper underneath you, or you can just measure. Let's pretend I have nothing and I'm just doing my measurements. So here's my paper. I need a mark at the 2.5 inch point of my paper. So I would take a pencil and put a mark. And same thing on the other end of the paper. So I'm just going to flip that over. And I would then make that 2.5 inch mark. Then with my ruler laying against those pencil marks that I just made, then you would take your stylus and go ahead and draw that line with the stylus, and that will put the crease in the paper. Let me mention that if you're doing it on a hard surface, you're not going to get as clean of a score mark. So either put it on like a blotter, perhaps on your desk, or like this is a mat, or even if you have a piece of cardboard that you can just tuck under. Let me see if I have a piece of cardboard here. Even in a pinch, a couple pieces of paper thick, okay? Lay that underneath your paper just so that it's got some give. So that when you're pressing on the stylus, the paper has somewhere to go. So again, I'm lining it up just at those pencil marks. Then you're going to make your score. Okay? Then you would do the same thing on this side, measuring at 2.5, and at the bottom also measuring at 2.5, using your ruler against those pencil marks and making your score line. All right, so we have covered from beginning how to get the paper the right size, how to put the score marks in there, a number of different methods depending on what you have available to you. Then, of course, you do your fold and creasing. If you don't have a bone folder to really set in those creases, you can use the edge of your ruler. Just be careful that you don't tear your paper, like so. Beyond that, we talked about cutting and gluing, and those things, of course, you can figure out with what you have or use the recommendations that are below this video. So I think that that is pretty clear at this point. I'll go through the steps since you have been so kind to stick around. Let me just go through those steps real quick. So we've got our paper already prepared. So you do the angle. You're going to completely remove this tab. The square that has the tab still attached is the piece that gets the triangle folded. And then a little bit of glue goes a long way, and you're going to go ahead and seal that flap. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching today. I am truly here as a creative coach. So if you get stuck or you need help or you have questions, please do contact me. You can either leave a comment below and I can answer it that way, or you can contact me by email or text and I'll be happy to help you out that way as well. If you've never subscribed to my channel, I do invite you to do that. As a subscriber, you'll get a notice each and every time I put up a new video. I do have a regular series on Saturdays called Simply Saturday, where I show you how to make a fast and easy greeting card. There's always other projects available for you to watch as well. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy stamping!